let's see. And then I'm trying to find Ater real quick. That is the ticker, right? ATER? Yeah. Do you know anything about the company? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I just kind of bouncing around because I remember in you and I's previous conversations, you were saying that anytime the VIX is over 20, that's kind of a good indication of things to come. I mean, ever since, here, let me go to, yeah, I mean, pretty much since 10:30 this morning, the VIX has just been on a run. Right now, it's around 1862, got as high as pretty much 19 around, what is this? I want to say about 10 minutes ago or so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I so real quick while you're chatting about that, so I pulled up Ethereum's Ortex data. I don't know if you've looked at it, dude. It's kind of crazy. So short utilization. So short utilization for Ethereum. For those of you guys watching, if you're not in Ethereum, it might be something to take a look at for sure. The utilization is currently at 99.5%. So that means the amount of lendable shares that are currently lent out, there's only 0.5% of those shares left available to lend. Now, on top of that, the current short interest of the free float is 68%. So, which is astronomical. And then the cost to borrow, the minimum cost to borrow rate is 115%. The max is 265%. That's the yearly interest rate that people are borrowing this for. Yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah, so BBIG. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. So for anyone out there that is watching, so Jay, if you can share kind of like your strategy going into like a play like that, one that you're kind of just keeping an eye on, and then the amount of risk that you're willing to put in to a certain play, and then if you're able to keep anything on the back pocket, that way if it does hypothetically retrace, you're able to still, you still have some dry powder left basically to continue to add to your position. So if you can, just kind of share like what your thought process is when you're entering a play. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Because you knew that there was probably a bottom that was going to be established at some point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like see when I got in today was like right when I text you, I got in like right here, right at this blue line. So I got in basically right around it was pretty much right around noon, and I got in kind of right at that bottom because I was waiting for it to bounce because it was pretty much it was starting to sell off a little bit, which was good to see because a lot of the time you can establish more buyers that potentially had missed out on their position that are going to start to come back in. And now, I mean, we kind of have been consolidating around that $10 mark, and now it looks like we're starting to run a little bit, which is good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this. So real quick, I'm looking at Ater on the daily, just so we can kind of let everyone know kind of what these next levels of resistance and support are. So pretty much just with where I'm zoomed out at right now, I mean, this is over the last pretty much a year worth of trading. A pretty significant level is right at around $11.90 because you can see we tested it as resistance and then established as support and then bounced off as support and then we established it again as resistance. So what you look for is pretty much anything where it touches these resistance and support lines 3 or more times. That's when you usually are trying to set your indicators, and that's when you can kind of determine when to enter a play or even when to exit a play. So yeah, so but I mean, dude, that right there, I mean, if we can bounce off that, the next level is not even until 1650. Like if it breaks through 1190, I mean, or excuse me, it'll be 1650 would be the next. Mm-hmm. True. Right. Yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, and with you and I's experience playing, college sports. I mean, it's always I mean, consider it like practice. I mean, you're just trying to perfect your craft, and the more time you put in, the better you get. So, let me run over. Have you seen or gotten any more indicators about any like unusual option activity for either Ethereum or AMC? Now, what ticker is this for? Okay, so December 17th. Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, that right. Yeah, it's definitely something to where, to your point, with these call options, especially that's that far out, there's people that had done this last year and had bought, these $50 calls for pennies. Yeah, and it was turning people into millionaires, which isn't it's crazy to think. And it's definitely something, for those that understand call options and understand how to, apply that risk management to that specifically. We definitely don't consider investing in calls or puts or even shorting a stock if you're not an experienced trader, because it is very much a gambling situation. Whatever you put in, you might as well expect to lose that money and never see it again. But in the event that you get lucky, you know, it's just icing on the cake, I feel like. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. Let me go over. Yeah, so this right here, this is kind of like an intro to technical analysis. So one of the key indicators that you guys want to learn is something called, so there's two types of flag formations, I want to say. So there's a bull pennant, which is a, obviously you have a flagpole. So you have you have the flagpole here, as you guys can see, and then we have the formation, which is basically where the stock starts to consolidate up to a point within a certain zone, thus forming a pennant. So you can see here, and what you usually will see is on the high end, you'll start to see lower highs, and on the bottom, you'll start to see higher lows. And like I said, it'll eventually hit this point here, and you usually will have, not always, but a vast majority of the time, you'll have some sort of breakout outside of this pennant or wedge formation. Now, the other aspect is a bull flag, and a bull flag, let me see, let me jump, I'm going to just come down right here. So a bull flag, same concept. So you have a flagpole, right? And then you have a symmetrical descending level of both. Yeah. So this right here is a bull flag, and a vast majority of the time, this is something where you can expect some sort of bottom and then a rip from there. Now, this is always kind of a good indicator. In my opinion, this is what I primarily trade off of, is that bull flag indicator, because a vast majority of the time, I mean, you can even see it right here, which is what? And almost an hour before that, we had another one, and then boom, a rip, right? So, a vast majority of the time it does happen. It's not a guarantee, but it is something to always keep in mind whenever you're looking at charts and trying to learn technicals. Yeah, man, these 5-minute candles look nice. We have some bottoming tails, which means buyers are stepping in. Hey, I just had someone text me saying that they can't hear you. Now, I don't know if it's on my end or not, on the mixer. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, but I wonder if it's the source, like if it needs to change to. Let me see. Yeah, everything's set to 100. And I don't have you muted. Oh, you know what it might be? All right, let me see here. There we go. All right, let me see if that's any better. If that's any better. All right, can you test it real quick?
Yeah, testing. I would say. Now I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, I had it muted.
There you go.
All right.
How is that? How is the sound? Can anybody hear me? Anything? Anyone?
Say something again.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Sweet.
Go.
All right, so jumping back over. So this is Ater. So it looks like Ater's forming a little bit of a bull flag also. So now this is on the 5 minutes, but this is basically the entire intraday here. So we have the flagpole forming, and then we have that symmetrical descending level of resistance, as well as a descending level of support. So there should, if it breaks this line, it should have another pretty nice move ready for, pretty much ready for power hour.
And I did say, hey, power hour. We could see something, and yeah, dude, 5 minutes. I'm not even worried about it. The way this, like I said, I always look at the MACD and the RSI. Those are some of my indicators that I just love looking at. MACD is already crossed, so for me, anytime I see MACD about to cross or pretty much about to cross, I always use that as an indication to go ahead and jump into a trade, because what can happen is you can miss the bottom, or you can just barely miss the bottom, right? And you don't want to catch it on the way up. And a lot of times, if you study MACD and you know about divergence and convergence of the MACD, then typically you can kind of estimate when the stock's going to bounce, right? Or where it's going to kind of move, because sometimes they can kind of coil up and just move back and forth between each other. And typically you'll see that whenever it's consolidating. But you know, the way today has been, I mean, we've had large divergences in the MACD and also in the, you know, the 200-day and 20-day MAs, or, you know, the 200 EMA and the 20-day MA. So for me, you know, we're finally trading above the VWAP as well, the volume weighted average price, on the day. So that's solid. And I think we've actually been trading above it all day, except for kind of a small period between 12:30 and now.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I know that we had, and it was so funny because I remember you and I were texting as soon as market opened, and I was like, "Oh, I bet we're gonna retrace again." And then, sure as shit, yeah, like
literally right after you text me that, you were like, "I think we're gonna retrace to 40."
It was like 45.50, yeah.
And I was like, you ass! Like, it literally, as soon as you finished sending that text, it started plummeting, and it literally touched 45.53, and I was like, wow, that was pretty spot on. And then that's when it hit its reversal, though. But yeah. So,
well, because like
that was pretty spot on, dude.
Yeah, and so like when I did my technicals yesterday, that was kind of what I saw, like, because it was starting to follow that retracement, but it hadn't fully hit that zone yet. And so that's what kind of made me think, oh, hey, there's probably more left to this, which is kind of like where I got that, you know, hypothesis from.
Right.
Hey, hold on real quick. I got to step out just for a second.
One of the things most I like going based off of when I'm trading options is unusual activity. Typically, they like to call it the smart money that you're following, and that's typically when you see like a discrepancy in the open interest and the number of shares traded on any given day. So there could be, let's say, if you're looking at some options contracts that you're looking to buy, and you come across something that's very unusual. Typically, for me, something that would be unusual is if you have, like, let's say 2,000 people, which is your open interest. Let's say you have 2,000 people who are holding contracts in, you know, options contracts in this particular stock, right? But you see a volume of like 10,000. So that's 5 times however many people are open, are holding those options contracts. So for me, that would be an indication to go ahead and jump in. And sometimes it can be within a certain time frame, it can be within a certain strike price. But I've made some pretty solid money. I turned like, I think $200 to like 3,000, just trading unusual options. And I remember, Jerry, are you back?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good. So, do you remember back when, what was it? I think it was back in April or May.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been in May, actually. Do you remember when I saw that one unusual options trade come in, and it was for AMC, and it was for the $40 strike price that ended in July or June? My bad. I think it was like June 19th, and we were like May 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hold on, what's going on here? And I was like, I'm buying more right now. I'm buying more right now, because we were at, I think at that time we were at $12 or something like that. And I was like, there's no way somebody's gonna buy these calls. And it was something, I think the trade was like 5 million, right? It was 5 million worth of options contracts that traded. And in my head, I was like, there's no way someone's gonna buy these calls in 30 days. think about it. In 30 days with options, what makes them so risky is if you're not right on your play or you hold too long, they expire worthless, meaning you lose all your money. Like, you don't get a penny back. Like, you just gave it to the street all day, right? And they just laughed at you and they were like, you dummy, like, you know, thank you. Which in terms of stocks, the only way for you to lose all your money is for the stock to plummet all the way down, like, to the very bottom, right? And go bankrupt. That's the only way you're going to lose money on a stock. But with options, it's completely different. That's why people think that they're risky, because, you know, you can lose all your money. But for me, like I said, you always want to assess like your risk tolerance and play what you're willing to lose, right? So, you know, you and I always talk about don't trade with what you're not willing to lose. Don't trade if it's money that you're going to need tomorrow. Like, if it's not money that you're going to need in 3 months or a month from now, go ahead and use that. And I remember seeing it and I was just like, yeah, I'm getting in on these. So I made some money on those pretty good options.
Yeah, I just looking at the RSI real quick. So we have some bearish divergence. So kind of explaining what that is. So it looks like we might have an upcoming sell-off. I would expect us probably to hit this 48.50 again here in the near future, and then potentially reject again. So bearish divergence, for anyone that's watching, is when the chart is either staying stagnant or is going up and the RSI is going down, which is indicating that sellers or that these buyers are starting to exit their positions. So here we go. So look, we're starting to test, like, literally as I'm saying, and it wouldn't surprise me if we reject and we drop back down.
Our next level that we have to break through would be this $49 level. Would you agree? Because it's rejected it 2 times in a day yesterday, and right now it looks like we're starting that third test.
So let me look. So it's 48.50. Yeah, so like we hit 49.40 was the intraday high yesterday.
Yes. And then we tapped it. We tapped 49 towards the end of the day before they just put out all their shorts on us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but it would depend on, let me jump out and look at if we have any other touch points. Let me jump to the 2 hour. So, all right, we said 49, right? 49. Yeah, 49 we have, excuse me, last time we hit it was back in pretty much 4th of July was when we were trading at that 49 level. So it's been a while for sure. Let me see here. Boom, there you go. Let me change this color so it's easier to see. Let's go orange. All right, so let me jump back over to the hourly so you guys can see real quick. So what I started doing, especially on my recordings, is trying to color code these levels of resistance just so it's easier to see on screen. And I like to keep the level of support in that traditional default blue. So we have level support around 45.87. We have 47.96, which we've already eclipsed. And then from there, it was what, 48.50. And then after that, we're looking at 48.99 or 49 even, and then 49.40. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were just saying, Jay. So yeah, I mean, I would agree that's kind of our next 2 or 3 levels of resistance from what I'm seeing also. But yeah, we're still in this. Yeah, see, look, exactly like I said, we came up and it rejected and people started selling off. So now it's going to consolidate in this level until we get out of this bearish divergence. And then I would expect us to test it probably 1 or 2 more times. If not today, then definitely in pre-market tomorrow, I would expect.
And like, you know, like I said, you go off of what you see on the candles. I like looking at indicators. This hourly chart, and you know, like I said, MACD for me is like a solid one. it's already converged, and it's starting to look like it's diverging. So typically when we see a divergence means, and the stock starts moving in that particular way, is you can expect it to run just a little bit. I would honestly think that we're going to break that 48.50 range at some point. And let me just take a look at the 5-minute. 5-minute is converging right now. And right now it's just kind of flat. So it's because, like, you know, and like I said, it'll run flat whenever we're consolidating in certain areas. But I would say we break, you know, near that 48.50, and we've already tested it just now in this last 5-minute candle. You know, I would think we would break out slightly, given, you know, it's just a matter of time, just depending on where these indicators, if they reconverge or if we see a breakdown on them. But right now they're just running flat, literally just running flat on the 5-minute. So it's just because it's probably gonna start a whole new consolidation, and it's just trying to see whether or not we're ready for that breakout or not. I would imagine we probably just need to see a little bit more volume. We're approaching 2 o'clock. So that's why I think, in my opinion, we're going to start seeing some more buying pressure, because power hour going into Friday, obviously we want to put maximum pressure on anybody who's short on this stock, just because, you know, Friday is expiry day for options.
Yep.
So if you had some options that expire tomorrow, it's in your best interest for this stock to keep going up. So, you know, in order for us to put maximum pressure on it, if they expire tomorrow in the money, that's just going to add to the failed to delivers on this stock. And as you and I both know, failed to delivers for AMC have jumped up 1,000%. That's incredible. That's just unbelievable. So I just think, you know, like, we're going to see some buying pressure. So look at that, 48, 47, 48, 48. Looks like we're testing again.
So
48.50, there we go. We had a little break. 48.52. It's rejecting it a little bit. Go ahead.
So real quick, I just pulled up STOCKMARKET tracker for AMC. So as of where the price is right now, 64,000. So let's just round up. Let's say 65,000 calls expiring in the money as of tomorrow. If we close at 50, it's going to add another 32,000 calls.
That'd be 106,000.
That'd be
107. I would say 107.3 maybe.
Right. So what is that? 10 million shares? That would be, yeah.
That would add to fails to deliver. And you remember this morning how I told you that they were shorting the ETFs. That's why we dropped so much yesterday. It's funny because, you know, I like jumping on Reddit, and somebody was literally like, don't panic, they're shorting ETFs right now. And as we both know, and most people don't know this, if there's an exchange traded fund, which is an ETF, exchange traded fund, right? Basically, if a company shorts that specific ETF and a stock that you like is inside that ETF, that's a way to short the company as well. That's a roundabout way to short the company if there's no shares to borrow. And as you and I both know, and as Schwab has told me, AMC is a hard to borrow stock, meaning it is heavily shorted. We don't even know how much it's shorted, because a lot of these institutions, they self-report. Meaning if it was mandatory that everybody had to report and like be transparent, then I don't think anybody would really short as much or try to manipulate a stock as much as it's been going on probably since the start of the stock market, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. For those of you guys that are just joining us, I know we haven't really mentioned it, but please hit a like on the video, and definitely feel free to subscribe to both my channel, Dippin' Trading, as well as Jay with Flashpoint Capital. You can just search us on YouTube specifically and find the channels, and then make sure you're watching our content, hitting those likes and subscribes. It will just help out more people to find the channel in these videos. So please do so. Let me go over. I do have to leave here in about 5 minutes. So Let me see. I want to check Gevo real quick because it was still on a run.
ATER rejecting that, bouncing back off that $10.
Yeah, it's still consolidating in that bull flag.
Yep, it's holding pretty good. It's holding pretty good.
Let me go ahead and extend that out.
I think we might see another 1050 run because it looks like that's where it's trying to hold over 1050 in my opinion. It's gotten as high as $11, but it's always kind of bounced around that 1050 range. So
the level guys that
1050.
Yeah, so the level guys that Jay's talking about is this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and color this gold. So this gold line right here is that 1050 range. So we've touched it 1, 2, 3, 4 different times, both with support and resistance. Mm-hmm. So if we get a clean break outside of this bull flag, and then we can get a clean break over 1050, we should see a nice little run.
But you see how your lines are drawn, like there's clear indication that it's ready for a breakout.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're good at drawing your trend lines, then you can pretty much kind of predict what will happen next, excluding any outside factors like heavily short attacks, like short ladder attacks, where they just start trying to manipulate the stock just quick. And I would imagine because this stock as well is another heavily shorted stock, that they're definitely trying to make sure that they don't have calls expiring in the money tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just,
well,
I would think that we would see some more manipulation on this stock as well by the end of today or even by the end of tomorrow.
Well, I would think with it being in holding over $10 for so long, they've probably already hedged for those, right?
Typically, you would see a hedge for that, just because you want to minimize your risk, and typically, yeah, it looks like we rejected that 48.50 again.
Told you.
That's 15 minutes worth of 48.50. So.
And that's 3 touches. So and AMC usually follows a 4-touch trend.
Mm-hmm. So I think power hour, we would break it. We might see a little bit of a downtrend here in a bit. They'll probably try to bring it down to, I would say, the 47.50 range. We might hold around 47.75 range, in my opinion, just because these boom candles right here, and then we've also seen it kind of hover around that area earlier in the day, before we had that breakdown to the near $47 mark.
Yeah, and we have that pretty strong level of support around that 47.95 range, 47.99, whatever the number is. A lot of the times, guys, so when you're zooming out, for those of y'all that are trying to learn technical analysis, the further out you zoom and you're marking your lines for support and resistance, just keep in mind, whenever you zoom back in, you're going to be within, I want to say, 10 to 15 cents or so. So your numbers aren't always going to be exact. It's more of an approximation to figure out when's a good time to enter or exit.
Yeah, and just to be clear, what he means by zooming out and zooming in, he's talking about in terms of like the time frames. So if you're looking at the weekly chart, right? If you're looking at the daily chart, if you're looking at the hourly chart, in terms of time frames, when you zoom out, you can kind of get a macro perspective of what the stock is doing, where it's trending, and when you zoom in, you get the micro, so basically how it's doing on that particular day. But if you zoom out, you can kind of get an overall view and make pretty good decisions based off of what the chart is looking like and where it's trending. So if it's trending up, meaning you're getting higher highs and higher lows, that's a good indication that you'll probably start seeing some buying pressure, or it'll continue that trend in the near future.
All right.
And today we've had all of it. We've had the dip, we've had higher highs, higher lows, literally throughout the entire day.
I want to see if we've.
I mean, we're holding that range. And what's funny is the average, let's see, 10-day volume is 102 million. Now remember when we were in June, so like June 6th all the way to at least like August 10th, the average volume was like 70 million. Average 10-day volume was 70 million. Now we've gone up.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of 200 million share trade days, but I'm looking for those billion share trade days, you know, and that's going to happen in my opinion. And I think you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting these hammer candles. I mean, look at this right here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like these.
So guys, a lot of times when you're looking at candles, so you can kind of figure out when buyers or sellers are stepping into the equation. So what you look for when there's buyer strength is these bottoming tails. So you see how they're drastically visible, especially on a 5-minute chart. And then for the sellers, you'll see these topping tails. Now, these topping tails are indicating when sellers are stepping back in to push these candles down. And the buyers, it's the opposite side. They're pushing these candles back up when they've already tried to be pushed down. And just keep in mind, for every transaction, there is a buyer and a seller. So don't feel like, you know, when you have a red day, everyone's just selling. That's not the case. It's just people are buying back in at a discount because they haven't agreed upon price. I will go ahead and say we do have to wrap this up. I do got to head out and run some errands, but thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to be dropping some more technical analysis videos later tonight, and we will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to check both of our channels out. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.